Welcome to the Avert podcast, where we talk with some of the most creative people within North Texas and beyond. I'm your host, Michael Gibson Jr. Check out my film, Allura, that I co-wrote and produced with my director, Nicholas Mothersbaugh. See the movie that the Scion Film Festival called A Beautiful Mother-Daughter Story and awarded it with the Best Space Travel Film Award, and which won first runner-up in the Best Texas Short Film category at the Denton Black Film Festival. Allura stars Lauren Brizendine, Maddie Lee, and Nicole Fancher, and is about a single mother training for the mission of a lifetime as a NASA astronaut that has to make the choice between her dream to travel into outer space on the mission of a lifetime and the love of her daughter, whom she would have to leave behind. We recently got accepted into the Fort Worth Indie Film Showcase, which is taking place July 25th through the 27th of 2019. For more information, visit fwindiefilm.com. You can also follow Allura on Instagram at ALORA Film to check out the trailer, see behind-the-scenes photos, check out interviews with the cast and director, and be alerted to upcoming screenings. This episode's guest is Fort Worth rapper The.Naaman. He is currently nominated for a Fort Worth Weekly Music Award in the R&B hip-hop category. Ballots will be counted right up until the day after the Fort Worth Weekly Music Awards Festival, which takes place Sunday, June 23rd, 2019, from 5 to 10 p.m. at 8 venues near Southside. You can cast your vote or get tickets at fwweekly.com. During my conversation with The.Naaman, we discussed music, comedy, heartbreak and loss, and so much more on episode number 47 of the Avert podcast. Consider yourself warned.
I am The.Naaman, Fort Worth rapper extraordinaire. Yeah, that's me.
Now, did you originally grow up in Fort Worth?
I'm from Irving. Born and raised. Been in Fort Worth for 11 years now. Just love it. And the community has been very accepting, and I really love being here, living here, and being a part of this community. So,
now, what is it that brought you to the rap scene?
Well, creatively, I was doing a lot of acting, improv, and things like that.
Which is how we
met, yeah. Through, I believe I was like an assistant teacher on some of your improv classes at 40 Weekend.
Yeah.
And so through the process of being and trying to be an actor in Dallas and Fort Worth, and you just get really burnt out because you're doing a lot of commercials and you're not really doing a whole lot of things that you would call creative projects. And so performing improv is great and all, and it gives you that rush, but it's not enough, and it's not sort of sustainable if you're doing it at home by yourself. So you have to deal with those moments, when you're by yourself. And so I tried to channel my creativity into something else that I loved, and was doing basically comedy stuff with my troupe of people called Shut Up and Prance. We're doing a show right now called Wondercrust Movie Watchers Club, where we just make fun of B movies live at a bar. And so we would do that, and that sort of fell by the wayside. People move away, people have kids, things sort of just start to kind of disintegrate, and things get put on the back burner.
Right. And
so having no creative outlet a couple of years ago, just sort of started learning how to make music, and always liked rap. I've done music as a kid, so it just seemed natural, and then made beats and didn't show anybody, and got better and didn't show anybody, and then came out and had my first show in February of 2017? Yeah, 2017. And then we're off to the races. So nominated for a Fort Worth Weekly Award later that year in June. Nominated for another Fort Worth Weekly Award, so if you're hearing this, go vote. The weekly awards are out now till June 22nd. So just sort of got into it that way, having all this stuff inside that needed to get out, going through breakups and things like that. So they found an outlet through rap.
Now, were you always sort of an artistic kid growing up?
Yeah, artistic. If by artistic you mean like annoying and always pretending to play something I saw on TV, then yeah, absolutely. I would walk into like, once I learned to read, I would play out these sort of like fantasies with my brother, and I remember at one point quoting myself, walking in to talk to my mom about something, like I was this character. It's just, she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, I'm this person. She's like, oh, okay. You're one of those. So yeah, it's always been like that. Always been, if you hang around me long enough, I'm doing stupid voices. I'm pretending I'm quoting some dumb movie or doing something. It's just on.
Yeah, I considered myself kind of a pop culture sponge, because just randomly I'll quote some commercial or movie.
I blame my father for that, because he was always like that too. So, but he's quoting stuff like classic movies that I blame my father for a lot of my good taste in film and in art in general, because he's always like, when you're growing up and your dad's quoting weird shit, like, it's very annoying as a teenager and stuff like that. You're like, oh, shut up. Nobody knows what you're talking about. But then you realize, like, that your dad's got really great taste in foreign film. Like, your dad knows about, like, cool directors and shit that you've never heard of, and that, like, he's been putting you on since day one. Like, that's cool. So I realized that my dad's way cooler than me. So just, if he tells you about a film, or he tells you about a director, if he tells you about something, you listen. Especially, like, he's always been that kind of guy, and I got it all from him. So
now, when it came to making music and creating beats and stuff, did you pick it up on your own? Were you learning from other people?
Being like you said, pop culture sponge, I will steal from whoever. I don't give a fuck. My production style is like basically cobbling together all the shit that I like and all the ways that people put together music, especially hip hop. I'm a firm believer that hip hop was predicated on theft in the first place. So like, if you look at hip hop, it stole specific bits of music that it loved from disco and from things like Kraftwerk. Like, hip hop has always been about theft. It's always been about reappropriation. So making something from nothing, taking the thing that by all intents and purposes is pretty cheesy, disco, and taking the little bits of it and making it cool. That's what hip hop is, and that's what I kind of do. As far as learning how to do the DAW and the digital workstation, YouTube. Just seriously, like, whatever problem you're having, YouTube it. That's the main, like, YouTube it, Google it. Just fucking Google it. That's the only way. And so I learned just by trial and error, putting things together. From that, just, you get better, your tastes get better, you sort of realize what's working, what's not working, and you the more you do anything, the better you get at it. So, but if you're looking to try it or get into it and it's something you like, fucking Google it, look on YouTube for information, it's out there.
How would you describe your particular style of rap?
Lyrics over everything. And I like modern hip hop, I like trap, I like everything, and I don't want to diss anything, because like I said, I'll steal from everywhere. Like, I don't, if I like it, I'll take it. But for me, I feel like getting into the game a little later in life, I have a little bit more to say. So lyrics above everything, meaning like lyrically is where I started. So like I started out wanting to rap and no one would fuck with me because, you know, you're in your 30s, you're white, you want to rap, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives two fucks about anything you're doing, and nobody will let you hear their beats, much less put you on. So I was like, well, fuck, I have to do everything myself. So I cobbled all that together. But lyrics was always what I had in the forefront. So I've always thought about music in terms of having a good vibe, but also being a vehicle for the words and vehicle for like the message. So, and it's always been message over everything.
Now, is there a particular, when it goes to the message, is there something that you're overall trying to?
I think you have to let each song breathe and have its own moments. Like they're obviously, like, it's not always serious. Like I have fun songs. I have like braggadocious material, but I also have songs about friends who have been raped. I have songs about heartbreak and loss. Each individual piece tells you what it's going to be at some point. And you can't force that into something else. You just have to sort of ride with it until it's done. And so like the content for me, a lot of it has been like therapeutic, like getting over a loss or dealing with like a societal issue, like systemic, like treatment of women, like how our society like really just doesn't give a shit about women, and how something as simple as a dude abusing his partner is something prevalent that a lot of women and people can relate to, because everybody knows that story of a woman who's been abused by a guy she was dating. Everybody knows that story. They know that girl. And in my story, as far as that goes, she gets her revenge in a very bloody and ruthless way, but that's how that story goes. So
Now, take me through your songwriting process.
Oh, man. It's different for every song. So I like to, lyrically, I'm always on. So I'm always writing lyrics. There's notes on my phone for days. I like to keep pens and paper on me just at all times, because I feel like for what I do, I need to write shit down. I need to see it on paper. Because I come from a music background. Like, I come from like reading sheet music and playing in orchestra in high school and some in college. But
what instrument did you play?
I played viola. So I understand, like, when I look at music, I can see it. Like, I see how it's going to play out. Like, I can read sheet music and stuff, and I'm not completely inept as far as music goes. But I feel like pen and paper makes things live. I feel like it's very tangible. Whereas, I know a lot of rappers do notes and stuff like that on their phone, and I'll do it if I'm driving in the car or whatever. I'll just say it into the phone and it'll have it. But then I write stuff down. So I have like a large collection of legal pads in disarray in piles in the room. And so I'm always on lyrically. Musically, as far as like making stuff, I have to force myself to sit down every day and do it. So it's sort of a marriage. Like the lyrics are always going, the words are always coming, but the music I have to force myself, because it's not something I'm necessarily very, very good at it. So I have to force myself to do that. And so the process of always having lyrics, once I think a song is like, okay, this is ready, I'll start to put words to that. And then sometimes it's the reverse. Sometimes it's like I have a good idea for a hook, and I have to figure out what the music for the chorus is. So sometimes you work lyrics first, sometimes you work music first. It just depends. And I think you have to be in this sort of genre, you have to be really adept and well versed and take everything as it comes, because there's no formula that works for everybody. And even if I found that once you find your formula, it's time for you to adapt and change it and get better, because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over. People catch on, man. It's a very quick genre. Like, once somebody catches the joke of like your methodology, it's time to switch up. And if you're not ready to switch up, then you're just ready to get passed by. So,
do you have any rappers that you kind of idolize?
Oh, there's like rappers I like for different reasons. Lyrically, for me, I like to be a combination of thought-provoking, like 90s boom bap meets the out and out lyricism of Southern rappers. Like, Houston rappers, namely Bundy, Scarface, guys like that, mixed with New York rappers like Jay-Z. I'm still coming around on Nas. I used to hate him, but now I don't know, something about his style now sticks with me. I used to just despise it. I'm getting better. And then like just guys that are very stylistic, like, Busta Rhymes comes to mind.
Yeah.
Old school rappers. I always liked KRS-One and his teachable, like the way he teaches, like he's called the scholar, so he's always trying to give you the lesson. And I really appreciate that kind of style, even though it can get a little preachy. Jay-Z is a big influence, obviously, simply because, like, if you're a rapper and he's not influenced you, you're kidding yourself. Like, and then, I'm a huge Biggie Smalls fan. Like, I can't, like, I listen to old school stuff of his, like, just all the time. And you always learn something, because he's always flipping words just in the right way. It makes you think, so. But yeah, and I always like to highlight Houston rappers, like, cause nobody ever, like, when you're listing the list of best MCs of all, nobody ever stops to think about Bundy, but Bundy is amazing. Bundy has some of the most badass, like, he's so badass lyrically, but he's also so very, like, tough and street. Like, it's the combination of these two worlds. It's like a thug with a library card. It's the fucking best. And him and Scarface, like, if you're sleeping on them, you're stupid. I don't get it.
Now, as far as the music scene in Fort Worth, is there anybody that's a presence here or up and coming that people should also sort of look out for?
Man, everybody in the scene is growing so rapidly. When I first started doing this, it's only been 2 years. I can't really testify. There's been people who's been doing this for a long, long time. Smooth Vega, if you haven't heard any of his stuff. And I would really encourage people to look at the Fort Worth Weekly Music Awards. Every single rapper on that award, list that's nominated for an award is killing it right now. You've got Lou Charles, who's done everything from Kia commercials to introduce the mayor at events and stuff. He's really on a rapid rise. You've got my pal Torn Up just put out his newest record, which is, if you talk about lyricism and storytelling, his album's called You'll Never Understand the State of Soul, or I forget the full title, but it's You'll Never Understand. And it's basically every vignette, every song is a perspective of a different black person dealing with the prison industrial complex. So it is so very, like, deep and meaty, but also just, like, the way he raps and the way he melds everything is phenomenal. My dude, David Allen Dope, if you haven't heard him, he's got a new album on SoundCloud called Momentum, which is really dope. He's sort of got a sexy vibe about him. Like, he's very smooth. Like, really appreciate him. 88 Killer is, just doing what he does. He's sort of got this, like, West Coast vibe to all of that stuff. Let's see who else. Rex, also goes by Sage Mode Rex. If you're into, like, cleansing your aura, he's a good rapper to listen to from Fort Worth. Juma Spears just put out, Genzai is his newest record. Japanese influence. So if you're one of those anime rap nerds, that's your shit. Check that out. I put out my debut single, Adrift on a Sea of Voices. It's on all platforms, so you can get it on everything but SoundCloud, I think. So Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, iHeartRadio for some reason. I don't know. I've got another single coming out on the Fort Worth Weekly Music Awards comp that I just recorded at Nile City Sound. with those guys. That'll be out around the weekend of the Fort Worth Weekly Music Awards Festival, which is like June 22nd, 23rd. You can buy that and all proceeds go to charity. So I have a song on that called Cool, 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 which is just a fun song where I just rap about really nasty things.
Something that people might not know about you.
Well, let's see. I've been divorced. I was married and divorced. A lot of people don't know that. Like, a lot of people in this area don't know that because I moved here, like, after all that stuff happened. So yeah, I had a lot of turmoil getting over that, and still, like, it's been 10 years and still dealing with some of the loss. It's a heartbreaking thing, and I don't know if you ever fully get over it. But, you know, the healing has begun, and it's something that sort of informs my songwriting. There's a lot of, for the songs that I'm writing right now, I never throw anything away. So if I've written something down, if I wrote lyrics down, I never, like I said, I have a pile of notebooks in there. Nothing ever gets thrown out, because I'm a firm believer that, like, everything that comes out of you as far as being a creative is sacred. And so if there's not a time for it to be put out right now, there will be a time later. Because sometimes you have these moments of inspiration when if you're constantly writing and constantly tracking yourself, you'll have these moments of inspiration where you write down something that you don't really fully understand how to use or how to integrate into a song. And sometimes if you don't keep that stuff, like, you can never go back and look at it, and you can never go back and figure it out and use it. So I always kept, like, everything I've written. And so when I first started rapping, I went back through some lyrics and stuff that I kept, that I had written during the divorce, during the breakup. And that really informed a lot of sort of the heartbreak and kind of the heartbreak and loss and that vibe on some of the songs. And so basically I cobbled together, like, my first single, Adrift, is something I wrote when I was still married and was feeling the separation and feeling that weird growing apart, but also feeling out of place. So that was written in a journal that she gave me, and in the journal it's got an inspirational thing from her at the front. Like, she wrote in it, like, you can do this, you do whatever. Like, I still look at that, and on every page she has a photo of her face. So I go back through this journal and look at these words, and I've got her face, like, right there. So it's a big inspiration in a way, to know that somebody loved you that much, but also it's, like, heartbreaking to see that things disintegrated in such a way that now you're not really in touch and things aren't the same. But that really informed a lot of the songwriting, especially early when I started rapping. And so, yeah, I keep everything, and divorce has sort of informed who I am as an artist, and at least on certain songs. I'm not trying not to pigeonhole myself into the sad boy emo rapper, because I'm not that. I mean, I have fun songs about other stuff, but that was a really a big turning point when I discovered that journal again, started flipping through it and putting those lyrics to use, because I think everything has a time, and sometimes you're ahead of your time. You know what I mean?
Right. And everything, good or bad, all your experiences end up driving you and leading you to a certain point.
Oh, absolutely.
To where you are. Yeah, going from, because I know we come from kind of a comedic background.
For sure.
And stuff. What makes you laugh?
I think what makes me laugh the most is when people are honest about the commonalities that we all share. Like, when people just share the absurdities in life. I think one of the tragedies of like modern times is like when something bad happens to you and you can't laugh about it. Like if
I've been there, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, when you're so worried about being cool that you can't laugh at yourself if you trip, fall, or drop something, you're just like, idiot. You know, like if you can't take those moments, like, and we all have those moments, and I think that's what draws us together as human beings, is because we all fuck up, we all do stupid shit, and we all need to be able to laugh about the dumb stuff that we've done, and especially with each other. And I think for me, like, somebody that makes me laugh is just like really in tune with their weirdness too. Just like I sing a lot to my dog here, Buster. I just moved into this place and he's amazing, but I will like make up stupid songs to the dog, like, and it just makes me giggle. It's dumb. But I think that's the thing, is like just accepting your weirdness and then rolling with it, because I make myself laugh just by doing stupid shit around the house all the time. Just accept the weird. I think that's the number one thing.
Now, I know you said that you've only been publicly rapping for about 2 years now.
Sure.
But what has been the most memorable experience for you?
Oh, the funny thing about it, the most memorable experience every time I go back to it is something that only I got to witness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the first time I put words to a song. I remember the moment. I remember where I was. I remember the first time I had this piece of music. I had finished it, and it was done, and it was good, and I liked it. And the most memorable thing is when I was in my house by myself. I do a lot of this stuff in isolation. There's not a whole lot of collaboration. I think sometimes you just gotta be alone and be comfortable becoming who you're going to become before you share that with anybody. And I just remember I fit it together. I fit the words with the music, and it sounded good, and I liked the way it vibed. And I remember getting through the whole song, like the chorus, the hook, like everything worked. And then the song in it, and I was like, okay, I can do this now. I had this moment of like, this works. And now I just gotta make it work like 1,000 more times, and it worked great. But that was the moment. That was when actually my first single, that was Adrift. Again, Adrift on a Sea of Voices. That's the first song I ever completed as a rapper, as this project, as The.Naaman. So, and that was the thing I remember most, is being so insecure until that moment. And when you finish it and it's good and you're happy with it, it's done, you're like, okay, I can do this.
Now, when you're working on a piece, how do you know when it's done?
Fuck. You know when it's done. I never know when it's done, because I'll keep fucking with something and keep it's you're always trying to figure out if it can be better, if it can be better, if it can be better. At a certain point, you just give up, you know? You give up the illusion of control. You give up the illusion that, like, you're ever going to be happy and finished. Like, sometimes it's just got to be done, you know? Normally, for me, once I realize that the song is cohesive, like, it has verses, it has a hook, I have words to it and everything like that, I'll generally rehearse it for like a week. Like, I'll do it every day and then get it to where it's supposed to be, and then I'll put it away and just let it sit, give it a month, come back, and then look at the music again and see, okay, is there a way that I can accentuate what I'm trying to say by taking out parts of this music? Is there something I can leave out here that'll make this these words have more impact. And then after I do that pass, I'll just hand it off to my manager, who also mixes everything. Hand it off to him and be like, okay, this is done on my end. And then what he'll do is he'll go in and mix, and he'll talk to me about, he's a drummer too, so he'll talk to me about how he wants the drums to hit, and then we'll figure out if anything needs to be changed from there, make a pass at it, and then send it to mastering, and then here we are. Yeah, you never know, because in that process, the song could change 100 times, but once it has words and stuff, I usually just put it away until I'm ready to, okay, we're going to go into the studio with this and we're going to record, and then we'll polish it. So I like to leave things a little rough and a little raw. Leave that room for improvement if I want to mix things or turn it around or flip the chorus or whatever. It's just a process. And it's not very quick, and I need to make it quicker, but what are you going to do?
What are some of your favorite things about North Texas?
What I like about North Texas and the South, and just this area, and I'll just go Fort Worth because I really love this community. It's a really accepting community. I'll talk music. So the music community itself is very accepting. You can, where other cities have like their sound, like there's a New York sound, there's an Austin. If you take Austin has a there's a vibe that comes out of Austin in different styles. If you look at Nashville has its style.
Right.
Fort Worth is sort of a hotbed where you can come in and we're in a great pocket because we're like the 15th largest city in the U.S. So it's an actual city.
Right.
But as far as musical identity, there's room for growth. Like there's room for everything from metal bands that are doing great to singer-songwriters to rappers that are popping off to the punk scene's vibrant. Like whatever you want to do, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to become, Fort Worth is just like, cool, do whatever you want. And it's very accepting, and there's a space for you. Like the electronic scene, bands like Vogue Machine are popping off and doing really, really great work. You still have your singer-songwriter stuff. You still have like people like Ansley and Jacob Robertson are doing really great things, and just amazing voices. And Fort Worth has always had a spot for that. But there's also like a big hip hop scene that's growing. Like Fort Worth doesn't give a shit what you do as long as you do something. And I feel like there's never any pressure to be a specific thing from Fort Worth, And I think that's what I like about it most is like my good friends that I see every week, like 2 or 3 times a week, they're doing their music the way they want to do it.
Right.
My friend Tony Green is doing his talk show the way he wants to do it. Like Fort Worth has just allowed me to become who I wanted to become. I wanted to do comedy. I did comedy. Fort Worth was like, yes, we'll go see your comedy. And now they're like, yes, we'll go listen to you rap. Like that's the biggest thing. It's like nobody has ever squashed what you wanted to do here. And there's always been an opportunity. It's like, oh, you're doing that? That's cool. Here you go.
Now, if you weren't rapping, what would you have wanted to do?
I've always thought about being an entertainer, so the acting thing still hasn't left me. The acting bug is still very much alive. I'd like to do everything as far as entertainer. Like, if I was going to do anything else that's outside of this field, out of this realm, I don't know. I really don't know if there's anything else. Honestly, I tried to, do 9 to 5 jobs. I tried to, manage restaurants and whatever. Still do that. It's great, but I don't think there's much else for me out there. I'm not sure like me in a 9-to-5 cubicle or anything like that would work. I can't draw or paint, so that side of the arts is, although I appreciate it, is not really for me, like to do as far as work. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, but I absolutely get just that drive to be just an all-around creator, just have this creative soul and just want to express it out into the universe. So I absolutely get that. Again, being so young in the rap game, what do you feel has been your greatest accomplishment?
Well, my greatest accomplishment is I feel like the greatest thing that I could ever do with this is not for me, it's for other people. I knew when I came out that it was going to be kind of not a finished product, but I was going to be a little more polished than some other cats coming out. And so I work with, and I've been in Fort Worth so long that like I have connections that other people don't. So I know sound guys at places. I know people that book at different venues. Like I know these people just through my day-to-day life, and I've been here a long time. Some folks don't have those connections, especially rappers. And what I wanted to do was give up-and-coming rappers in the city that maybe haven't had access to different venues, or maybe haven't been able to perform live. People that have their song out or a video out or whatever, give some of these cats an opportunity to perform. And so I approached my good friends at Panther City Propaganda. They run a YouTube channel, and their Instagram is at Panther City Propaganda. They basically document the Fort Worth hip hop scene from trap to the most polished thing you've ever seen. So they're constantly digging and finding new artists and constantly working to expose artists through their platform. I had the idea to work with our friends at Dreamy Life Records. They do a happy hour it started off every Friday night from like 5 to 8, and now they're doing it every Saturday from like 2 to 6-ish at Mass. So I got the idea. They're doing these happy hours, but nobody's booking hip hop because nobody knows the hip hop to book. And I just basically put the two together. I saw Dreamy Life Records had this thing at Mass. They needed to highlight the hip hop scene. Panther City Propaganda knows all the cats that need a platform and a venue to perform at. So I just smashed the two together, introduced one to the other, and now we have what we call Hip Hop Happy Hour once a month, highlighting just underground hip hop cats in Fort Worth who may not have had a platform and may not have performed before or whatever. So Panther City books them. I work as a liaison with the record label and with Mass, and basically we just put cats on and let them perform. And we've been doing this for about 6 months, and that's been my greatest accomplishment. Is not anything for me, but being able to facilitate for other people. And I think that's what I'm most proud of is the fact that the happy hours has been going strong and it's been building its audience. And we've been able to get cats on a really cool stage. We started off on the floor with a tiny sound system, and now we're on the main stage at Mass, which has the best sound in the city, especially for hip hop. They have giant subwoofers and everything just sounds so amazing. And so we've been able to get a bunch of cats that I didn't even know just in the building and performing and creating the space for a community where producers and artists and just people that like the scene can come and hang out, network, talk to each other, and build these relationships that's going to further the scene. And that's what I'm most proud of. So
definitely cool. I'll have to check that out sometime.
For sure.
What do you think is a pitfall for somebody trying to break into the scene?
Ego. I think to do anything creative, you have a fair amount of ego,
right?
And rap is definitely like an ego-driven, egocentric art form. You're up there by yourself talking. You know what I mean? At its very basic. I think the biggest pitfall is, even though I'm proud of like what I've accomplished as far as, putting out music, performing, being nominated for the weekly award, which is cool. I think ego is the big thing that's going to divide and cause this scene not to grow at the rate it needs to grow at. So I've run across, once the weekly award nominations came out, I've run across a couple of negative things where people thought that somebody should be nominated that wasn't, and sort of poo-pooed the whole system and like just not giving anybody credit where credit's due, whatever. Like, the biggest thing that's going to injure this scene and injure what we're trying to build is if somebody's ego gets so great that they stop supporting the whole. Like, if you're getting your feelings and you start to have this idea, well, I should have, I should be this for me. That's never a good look, and it's never going to build the scene. It's always going to highlight your insecurities. If you feel like you should have got nominated or didn't get nominated, or I should be doing this, I should be put on this record instead of this guy. If you're ever worried about comparison, if you're ever so worried about what somebody else is doing that you don't do for you and for yourself, like, that's the death. That's the death nail. And that's the attitude. That's the personal attitude that's not going to build your brand or build you as an artist. And it's not going to put your best foot forward. Like, I love the fact that Lou Charles is on a freaking Kia commercial. I'm a little jealous, but if he wins, we all win. You know what I mean? I never get jealous about anybody doing a song with another cat that I want to do a song with. That's just going to make me work harder and make me reach out and be like, hey, listen, I'm here. I want to work with you. Let's go. If you're looking at somebody and your first thought is, why not me? Then you're already in a wrong headspace to succeed in anything. So I think for young cats coming out, focus on yourself, focus on you, and focus on the relationships that you build. And when somebody wins, this is Fort Worth. We're a small town. If somebody wins here, acknowledge their victory and be happy, because that only shines more light on what we're all doing. So keep it positive. Keep it about you. Keep your ego in check and just work, because the work is gonna prove your value. That's what's gonna put you ahead.
Do you have a motto that you typically try to live by?
Don't be a dickhead. That's the number one truth of my life at this point, is don't be a dickhead, because I can be. I'm very good at it. I've had a lot of practice. But where I'm at right now in my life is, I want to build something lasting that people can look back to and be like, oh, that's where that started. That's what that was, We started HipHop Happy Hours. I'm super proud of that fact. That's a date and time where this scene really started to blossom and flourish. And it was already doing that, but now we gave it an extra thing. We added to the fire. And that's super cool. But don't be a dickhead.
Now, when you're performing, do you feel that that's you up on stage, or are you playing a character?
It's weird. When I first set out to do this, I thought about rappers that I like, and like what their persona was on stage versus what their persona is in real life.
Right.
And I feel like, just to be honest, I feel like at first I was a character, but the more I do it, the more I start to realize that it's not a character so much as it's just another facet of who I am. like me talking to you right now is just one facet. But my performance facet is like, I'm very laid back just in general.
Right.
And just like, I'm smooth, mellow, I don't really, not a lot of like high energy shit going on with me. But if I'm performing, that's gotta jump up. Cause, I mean, being smooth is one thing, but, I'm kind of like on the low end of like, like low energy. So like that doesn't work for a performance. So I can't get high energy. I can't do that. I just think it's a different facet of my personality. There's always, I thought it was a character because it felt fake, but I realized once I started rapping and performing more, I realized that, oh, that's just how I perform because that's who I am. That's a facet of my personality. That's me as a performer. Whereas like me as a person is very, very kind of shy and not as outgoing, and like I'm more laid back in the cut and just, feel the vibe of the room. I'm not like that guy that's out there doing it. That's not me until I hit the stage, and then it is. So, it's a little both, I guess. But
what has rap and music taught you?
Work ethic. If you're not growing, you're dying, and just to constantly be working towards the goals that you have set. It's funny, like it taught me a lot about goal setting and, okay, well, here's where I am. There's where I want to be. What are the steps that I need to do to get there? How do I need to improve each day to get to this point in my journey, to get to the next point in my journey, to get to the next point in my journey? And I have a plan to be at that point right there. Let's keep my focus on that and just work and grind and get over there, And then for me, I always thought, well, I don't have anybody to partner with. I don't have any help. And then once I started working and doing things myself, the help arrives. Like you'll meet the right people that you need to meet at the right time. You need to meet them. If you're working and you're constantly set your sight and set your vision to where you want to go, and you can just constantly keep building and keep working towards that. Don't get distracted by, ladies, drugs, booze. I mean, all these things are fun in moderation, but keep your focus on your goal. Like if your goal is to have this much music out, or your goal is to have this many followers and perform on this big of a stage, like keep your sights set on that. Keep going towards it and build steps, micro steps to get to where you need to go. That's what it's taught me. It's taught me that you're never finished, like you're never perfected, and to keep striving for that perfection and keep working towards what your main goal is and what you're trying to achieve.
How do you define success?
Success at this level for me will be making a living doing what I love, touring, performing, writing music. That success will be when at whatever, I don't have a dollar amount success, but whenever I'm able to make a living and not have to worry about day jobs or slinging drinks or making cocktails or pouring wine, and I can just focus on making music and doing that to the best of my ability and make a living at it, that'll be success for me. And then from there, it'll just be getting better at it every year.
How do you define happiness?
Happiness is being able to look yourself in the mirror and like what you see. Being able to be around you, be around yourself, by yourself, and like yourself. I think that's the biggest thing anybody could ever do, is to like them. Like, if you like yourself and you're happy being around yourself, you'll never be lonely, you'll never be isolated, and you'll always be content because your company is good.
What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self, watch out for these hoes. They will take everything you hold dear and ruin it. Ruin it. They will ruin relationships. They will ruin friendships, and exercise self-control, because you're worth more than you think you are. Just calm down, relax.
And then what do you want to tell the people?
Please, go listen to my single. It's Adrift on a Sea of Voices. If you want to hear me talk about feeling isolated and lonely in a group of people that are my friends, that's what that song is about, basically. That and coming to grips with loss. And it's a lot of fun. It's a very happy song. It's very boppy. You'll like it until you, start really listening to the words, and then you're like, yeah, I really like this. But this is really sad. But the song's really happy. I'm very conflicted. So yeah, listen to that. It's on all platforms. It's amazing. Also vote for me in the Fort Worth Weekly Awards, and then give all those other cats a listen. Like, actually go out of your way. The Weekly Awards, if you want to know rappers in the city, scroll down that list. They got music out. It's amazing. Listen to all those cats and help build the scene. Come to a show at Mass. That's Main at Southside. Do all that, and then we'll see you. Come say hi at a show. I'll have some. At The.Naaman on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, facebook.com/The.Naaman. That's Naaman. Thanks.
Oh, very cool. Well, Naaman, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome, man. Anytime.
That's the podcast. Thank you again to The.Naaman for sitting down with me. Keep up with the Avert Your Eyes podcast, or check out past episodes by visiting our website, avertyoureyespod.com. There you will find everything you need to subscribe to the podcast, with links to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, and so much more. Go to www.avertyoureyespod.com today, and don't forget to leave a comment or review. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Michael Gibson Jr., and until next time on the Avert Your Eyes podcast, consider yourself warned.